What would you have done if you found out that you have moved into a haunted neighborhood? A family of 7 recently moved into a haunted neighborhood, although ignorant and clueless of this shocking truth at first. They considered the new neighborhood because they felt that it would probably be more cheaper, which is not actually far from the truth. It was very cheap, almost free for the most part. In this neighborhood, there lived only few people, mostly old people above 70 years old. The atmosphere of the neighborhood might look normal to an average person, just that there are no schools or hospitals nearby. Although a very sensitive person could easily sense some things wrong in this neighborhood. The family had 3 boys and a girl. The children were clearly not happy with their parents' decision of moving to that lonely neighborhood. Apart from the fact of them leaving their friends and past lives behind, the environment of the neighborhood was giving a very creepy, unsettling and a little bit of strange and disturbing vibe to them. Their parents usually locked them indoors when they are going out to get something outside the neighborhood for the purpose of safety. Considering the fact that the place looks so deserted, no school, no hospital, no grocery store, just creepy old and abandoned buildings. One fateful day, as the parents left their children as usual, 2 of their boys, the first and second child of the family, decided to explore the neighborhood. They were very curious and they wanted to explore their new neighborhood, and probably since they were already tired of boredom. They figured out a way to get out of the house and they started exploring the neighborhood. After walking for about 10 to 15 minutes, they spotted an abandoned school. The walls are creepy dark, with rusted roofs. The place was filled with cobwebs and it was looking so old and creepy. The boys hesitated at first to enter its premises, but they later changed their minds and decided to check the place after a few thoughts. They brought out their flashlights to see, since everywhere in the school premises was creepy black. The second boy started feeling uncomfortable with the school eerie and unsettling vibe, and he told his elder brother that he was getting really scared and that he wanted to go back home, but the elder brother convinced him to not be afraid. As they moved further, they saw a basement. This time, it was getting more scary as they walked down the basement. Down the basement they saw bones, bloods and human flesh. They also saw some cutting tools like machetes, axes in a creepy black box. At this point, both boys were very petrified. They tried running up out of the basement, when they heard footsteps coming from behind the deepest darkness of the basement. They point their flashlights to the direction of the footsteps, and the figure they saw was super scary. They saw a 6-foot man monster looking, with long beards, wearing ragged clothes stained with dried blood that stinks very badly. He had a sickle in his hand stained with dried blood. He started chasing the 2 boys and they ran up out of the basement. As the boys ran, they could feel him very near. The second boy, the younger one, fell down and the monster-looking man took him down the basement on his shoulders. The first boy, who was the elder, ran as fast as he could. He ran home in order to inform his parents of what had happened. His parents were already home. As he got home, he started screaming, "They got him! They got him! A monster got him!" His parents were both angry, scared and confused. They were angry because the children went out of the house, but they were more scared because the situation was more scary to be very angry about. They tried calling the cops, but there was no service on their phones due to the bad network facilities of that place. They drove out of the neighborhood to call the cops and explained everything. They came to the neighborhood about 30 minutes later. They were taken to the basement in the abandoned school. Luckily they saw the second boy, who was the younger brother, being abducted, sitting on the cold dirty floor, unharmed and in a proper state of health. The monster-looking man did not hurt him. He ran to his parents and they were happy that he was safe. They had a little bit emotional moment as the cops keep looking around the basement looking for traces or clues to the monster in the depth of the basement. Few moments later, they could hear footsteps echoing from the deep darks of the basement. It was the monster-looking man. He attacks the cops and started devouring them one by one. Of course they have guns, but the guns was clearly useless in this situation. All the cops got devoured. Luckily, the family were already outside the basement before this tragic event happened. But it was a very sad ending for those cops. It was later that the family decided asking a few neighbors about their strange encounters, and they found out that the monster-looking man was a very normal human being some years ago. In fact, he was the director of that same abandoned school. It was said that that neighborhood was haunted by demons some years ago after being cursed by a witch who lost her only son due to the neighbors' hostility and hatred. The demons started possessing people and turning them to flesh-eating monsters and blood-sucking vampires. A lot of tragic encounter happened and a lot of lives were lost in the process. So many people left the neighborhood for the safety of their lives. And that was the main reason why the neighborhood looks so deserted. It was also said that the monster-looking man devoured his family with his wife pregnant at the moment. He also devoured many students from the school at that time, and he kept their bones and flesh in the darkest parts of the basement. Legends also said that there are many of such demon-possessed scary monster humans, but a lot of them are far in the woods or other abandoned places due to the fact that there are no more humans for them to consume. These monsters don't consume young children or old people because they feel like these set of people are pure and unadulterated. I guess that was the reason why the second boy was not injured or killed after he was captured by the flesh-eating monster-looking man. The legends of this monster-looking human creatures has not been told for years now, and it remains a mystery to a lot of people. Only a few fraction are aware of this events. The family had to move out from that neighborhood completely for their safety. They moved to a more safer neighborhood completely far from the haunted neighborhood. The move to a place that had a better former story, probably a less or no tragic one.
Back in 2019, my folks owned a holiday retreat in the quaint town of Harper's Ridge, Vermont. Nestled on a 2-acre property surrounded by dense woods, we used to frequent the place as a family during my younger years. However, as we all grew into adults, our schedules rarely aligned for a family visit. Yet during the early stages of my courtship with my partner, Alex, I shared stories about our cozy getaway, tucked away in the scenic beauty of Harper's Ridge. Around our 5th date in October, the leaves began their mesmerizing transformation, and I playfully suggested spending a weekend at the retreat. Alex eagerly agreed, and 2 days later, we were packing for a road trip to Harper's Ridge. The drive took about 5 hours, filled with conversations ranging from TV shows to childhood memories, punctuated by comedy shows and podcasts. Upon arriving in Harper's Ridge, we first strolled through the charming village to showcase its quaintness. 10 minutes later, we reached the house. We had a small wooden gate at the driveway, a mere deterrent without a lock. I got out to open it, and as we drove onto the property, the well-kept surroundings impressed Alex. Lunchtime welcomed us, and after a tour of the place, I fired up the hot tub on the back deck. In the evening, we explored the town, visited the Harper's Ridge Heritage Museum, and returned to the house as darkness fell. Settling into the hot tub under the awning, we enjoyed the chilly night until an unexpected sound interrupted our tranquility. The crunching of leaves, mimicking footsteps. Alarmed, we leaped out, suspecting a bear. Rushing inside, I turned off the lights, thinking it would deter any wildlife. Peeking through a window, expecting to find a bear, I instead saw a human silhouette walking along the side of the house. Reacting quickly, we locked doors and blinds, puzzled by the unexpected intrusion. Moments later, a knock came, accompanied by a voice claiming to be the police responding to a breaking and entering call. Skeptical, I checked for a police car but found none. Unconvinced, I refused to open the door. Silence ensued, and when we looked again, the mysterious figure had vanished. Uneasy, we spent the night indoors, but the next day brought a new surprise. While returning from hiking and a day out, Alex screamed at the sight of someone hastily retreating from the house into the woods. Despite my attempts to reassure her, we packed, ready to leave the next morning. As we prepared for bed, I heard an odd scraping sound outside. Investigating, I discovered a man at the window attempting to peer inside. Armed with my dad's shotgun, I fired into the air, unleashing a scream to scare off the intruder. The incident left us on edge, but we made it through the night. The next morning, I reported the unsettling events to the local police. Subsequent visits to Harper's Ridge were thankfully free of such eerie encounters, providing a sense of relief for our family. Late one night, I found myself traversing the winding roads of Eldora, a small town in Colorado. It was around 1 a.m, and I decided to make a pit stop in Eldora for gas and a quick snack at a local convenience store. After refueling, I resumed my journey, acutely aware of the deserted roads, typical for this hour. Despite the emptiness, I maintained a steady 55 miles per hour, not wanting to risk any trouble. Suddenly, the ominous flash of red and white lights in my rearview mirror shattered the tranquility. Reluctantly, I pulled over, scrutinizing my speed to confirm it was only a marginal 2 miles over the limit. Irritation mingled with curiosity as the vehicle behind me mirrored my stop. I had never been pulled over before, and my annoyance grew as an individual approached my car. Lowering my window, I demanded an explanation for the stop, asserting my rights. Something felt off. The officer's uniform deviated from the norm, lacking the typical police insignia. His badge ominously declared him part of the criminal task force. Suspicion heightened as I noticed the absence of blue lights. Refusing to hand over my license without a valid reason, I questioned his legitimacy. The situation escalated as he insisted I exit the car, prompting me to request the presence of a supervisor. His demeanor grew aggressive, and I became increasingly uncomfortable. Doubting his authenticity, I rolled up the window, further infuriating him. Tensions reached a climax when he forcefully attempted to unlock my door. Reacting swiftly, I sped away, fearing the worst. Racing at the speed limit, I noticed the pursuing car closing in with its lights on. Desperation set in and I dialed 911, recounting the harrowing chase by a possible impersonator. As I neared the Fraser Winter Park Police Department, the imposter suddenly extinguished his lights and veered away at an intersection. The relief washed over me, confirming my suspicions. Arriving at the police station, I recounted the entire encounter to an on-duty officer. Grateful for my instincts, I shared every detail, from the imposter's face to the intersection where he disappeared. The officer recorded my statement and contact information, preparing for potential follow-ups. Trusting my intuition spared me from an uncertain fate that night, leaving me to ponder the disturbing possibilities that might have unfolded had I complied with the imposter's demands. In the heart of rural Ohio, I find solace within the quiet embrace of my quaint abode. At 29, living alone in a house that could easily be mistaken for the setting of a horror film, I've come to cherish the serenity it offers, far removed from the chaos of city life. Weekends spent here are my escape, a chance to recharge amidst the tranquil countryside. On a Friday evening, while I was relaxing at home, someone knocked on my door repeatedly, breaking the peaceful atmosphere. It was a salesman carrying a clipboard and talking about recent burglaries. He wanted to sell me a security system. At first, I wasn't sure, but his stories made me think about improving my home security. As darkness descended, the tranquility was shattered once more by insistent knocking. Unease gripped me as I hesitated to answer, wary of the late hour and the persistent intrusions. Yet, curiosity got the better of me, and I cautiously approached the door, only to be met with silence on the other side. The night took a sinister turn when my phone rang, displaying an unexpected caller ID. 911 Emergency Services. A voice on the other end claimed police presence outside my home in response to a reported crime. Suspicion gnawed at me as I questioned the legitimacy of the call, prompting a frantic call to genuine emergency services for verification. Amidst the chaos of conflicting information, a sense of foreboding washed over me as masked intruders attempted to breach my sanctuary. Adrenaline surged as I grappled with the reality of the situation, determined to defend my home against unseen adversaries. In the aftermath of the ordeal, suspicion swirled as I pieced together the puzzle of deception orchestrated by the salesman and the fabricated emergency calls. Determined to fortify my defenses, I resolved to remain vigilant against future threats, transforming fear into resilience in the crucible of chaos. Back in 2019, my folks owned a holiday retreat in the quaint town of Harper's Ridge, Vermont. Nestled on a 2-acre property surrounded by dense woods, we used to frequent the place as a family during my younger years. However, as we